Hi folks, this is John from Sharp Mountain Games, and today we are starting a new Star Trek adventure, and we'll do that right after the intro. Hi folks, and welcome to Sharp Mountain Games. Here we talk about group role-playing games, solo role-playing games, and there are plenty of actual plays in the playlist. You can check out our print and PDF products at Amazon, Lulu, drivethrur, and Roll20, and they're all linked below. Let's get started, and we're glad you're here. So today we're starting a brand new Star Trek adventure. I hope you have a good time. And we are using my streamlined space system, which basically, instead of this, like your standard 16D attributes, you have 8 different things, 8 different areas that kind of function as broad skill groups. And then everybody gets like 2 special things, like humans might get 2 free rerolls, or Edotians have a certain special abilities because they have 3 arms and all that. But it's really easy. And in fact, I'm trying it as the roll over version. So I'll be rolling and adding very traditionally exactly what you're used to doing from most of your D20 based games. You know, I'm seeing how that works. And the target number is generally a 10. If something is especially difficult, they might have to do it at disadvantage, or, you know, maybe if it's really easy, they get advantage. So let's introduce our cast of characters, because that's more interesting than the dice. We've got Captain Adam Weston here. We've got Security Officer Neela Dane. And you can see that they're wearing the red uniforms. We're going to be doing this particular adventure in the movie era. We've got the new science officer, Talarian, and you can see her there. She's a Vulcan. We've got, from the previous group, Tharo, who is the chief engineer now of the ship. And you can see he's an Edosian. They have 3 arms and 3 legs and a winning smile. And Dr. Heath Austin here, who is our doctor, Dr. Heath. So let's set up our bridge. So we have our starship here, and I'm thinking that it is the same class as the Excelsior. So, although not without the transwarp drive. Now, this little model is pretty close to that. I don't know if it's exactly. So let me set that out of the way. We don't need to worry too much about that for right now, because I definitely want to set up our bridge and get us going here. So here's R2. And those of you who have seen me before know it's very, very lo-fi. I'm really not into really, really complicated stuff. I mean, that's great if you have the miniatures and stuff. However, I think it's, for me, I like to keep things simple. And I hope you keep things simple too, because it's just so much more important to be playing than worrying about, do I have the exact right mini for this or something like that. So there's our captain in his captain's chair. Tharo's probably over at the engineering console. And we're going to bring Talarian on in a minute. Here's our security officer. Maybe she's, also monitoring things on the bridge. Here's our second in command. That's Commander Craig, although I don't know that she's going to be beaming down on this particular mission. But I'd like to start with a little bit of a scene beforehand. So we have Talarian, and she is meeting with Dr. Heath and the nurses, just for the standard physical and welcome to the ship, and they have to, get her baseline stuff. And afterwards, Dr. Heath is talking to her, and he says something to the effect, he says, if this is your first posting as a chief science officer, little nervous, are you? And she doesn't take affront at this, but, you know how Vulcans are. She says, well, Vulcans don't get worried and things like that. And he says, well, you never know. I know that we've had some very famous science officers like Spock. It must be hard to be coming up in their shadow. And she doesn't say much. She says, well, I'll try to do my best. But he kind of detects maybe there is a little bit of worry there, actually. Although, of course, Vulcans hide everything. And let me get a few things out of the way here. So they go up to the bridge. Now, the doctor's probably not right on the bridge unless he gets called there. I'd say the same thing with our security officer. Maybe she's up there. I don't know on something like the Excelsior whether they had like a weapons station, the way Worf had it on the Next Generation. But maybe she's monitoring something with the security station over here just to keep her in the action. And Dr. Heath's probably down in his med bay doing things. And here we have the main console where you have the helm officer and the navigation officer. And then Captain Weston says, that Well, we've been sent on a mission, and here with the USS Freedom. That's their starship, the USS Freedom. And we'll be going deep, deep in the nebula. He said there's a nebula, you know, it's kind of on the way to Romulan space, and we do have some colonies on the far side. He said we've been sent to investigate the starship Aurora, the USS Aurora. The Aurora was charting a path through that particular nebula, and we lost contact with them. Starfleet lost contact with the Aurora almost a week ago. So, and we're the only ship within range who's been able to get out here within that time. You know, the hope was to chart a very clear, easy path. That way, starships wouldn't have to go around the nebula. The problem with going around the nebula is it took more time, and should there ever be conflict with the Romulans, we'd need to do that very quickly. So he says, you know, Talarian, you know, I'm going to ask you, you know, please keep a constant scan because we don't know what we're getting into in this nebula. You know, whether it's kind of like a Bermuda Triangle system or what problems we might come across. And she doesn't quite get the Bermuda Triangle reference, but I think she's not going to, you know, show her ignorance there on that account. So the Freedom makes its way in, and she's going to start scanning. And let's see what we find. So she needs a 10 or better. Like as I said, with this system, I'm going to keep it really simple. You know, roll under is very nice because you always know kind of your target number. Well, here the target number is always 10. And if it's particularly difficult, you do it at disadvantage. Now, she does get a bonus to that, so that's a +3. So how did we do? 10 and 13. So she definitely makes her scan there. Captain, I'm detecting some very rough sailing ahead. There's a patch of the space where there's a lot of energy disruptions. She said, but according to the logs I have, that's the path that the Aurora took. So I don't know that we can avoid it because, you know, obviously we have to find the Aurora. So he orders, you know, he says, well, that's all we can do. He says, you know, navigation and helm, plot your best course. So they are going to pass through this rough patch of space. And I'm going to say it's going to take 6 rounds to do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. However, a good roll might be able to shorten that. So navigation is going to try and do a roll here. So navigation will be the white dice and helm will be the blue here. So let's see how we do. So navigation is a 9, but with the bonus, that'll be enough. So on this first round here, navigation is able to assist and maybe, you know, find like the best path and cut things short. So it might not be the full 6 rounds here. However, as they do this, there is a strange feeling comes across all of the people on the bridge. And it's like all these very bad memories from the past all of a sudden are in their minds, you know, when they shouldn't be, because they're focusing on their work and their travel through the nebula here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the people on the bridge make a psionics roll to see if they can resist this. So Neela resists. Tharo does not resist. And let me see how many rounds that's going to last for him. 1 round. And I have these little counters here that I bought. They're pretty cheap. I just got them at Dollar Tree. But that can represent how many rounds there's going to be a problem for. Let's try the captain. See how he does. No, he is not good. So the captain... Oops, and what was that roll with the D? I couldn't see it on the D4. I'll do it again. 2. So he's just there having all these memories of traumatic events. You know, maybe people who passed away or times when their life was in danger. You know, I'm sure we've all had scary incidents in our past. Let's try... Oh, that's very bad. For how many rounds? 3 for Commander Craig. And then let's try Talarian. No, she's fine. She's a Vulcan. She is able to, like, suppress those memories. She's a full Vulcan, not half. Navigation officer was fine, so that's good. And now, most importantly, the helm. Because the other folks, it's not going to be maybe quite as important. No, he's okay. All right. So some people in this process are having just these horrible, like I said, like when you have a terrible nightmare or a terrible memory of something bad from the past. So let's see how our navigator does and our helm does next round. So our navigator does not have any, he's not able to get through, but the helm is successful. So they're traveling through this nebula, and they're traveling through this really rough patch of space and getting tossed around, and there's energy bolts out there, almost like space lightning. But the navigator made it through, or the helm made it through just fine, so we don't have to have a roll for the shields to see if they held. And that was one round, so I'll take one of these little counting squares away, these little centimeter cubes. Now, Talarian isn't having problems, so she's saying, perhaps I can help. So she's going to make a science roll to see if she can assist the navigator. 3. Nope. Doesn't. She's not distracted by the bad dreams the way the other people were, where these things, like I said, from their past were coming up, but she's still not able to get a bead on things. And, of course, she doesn't say it. She's disappointed in herself with that. And let's see. Okay, good. So our helm and our navigator get them through all right. So next round here. And let's see. Oh, yeah, they do a good job. And Captain Weston notices that Craig is a little bit unsteady on her feet. And he says, do you need to get to sickbay? And she's just very distracted. And he just orders her. He says, go see the doctor. We all experienced this, and somehow we shook it. Maybe it's just taking you just a little bit longer. He said, there's no shame in this. He said, but please, go take care of that now as we get a little bit further along through the nebula. So she goes to see sickbay. So this had this effect. And the captain says, I'm very worried because I was affected by it too. He said, certainly, he said, I don't know who else was. And Tharrow kind of says, I was as well, Captain. He said, oh, well, and I'm sure Craig will be fine. We'll get her back. He said, but we'll have to be cautious. He said, it was like things from the past. He said, things I haven't thought of in a long time, or, certainly that I've had control over. He said, well, I guess we'll just have to proceed along and see if we can find the Aurora. So they're going to be going along and trying to find the Aurora. So they go deeper and deeper into the nebula. And I mean, this takes not just immediate. This takes hours and hours. And they make their way through there. And let's see, Tharrow is manning engineering. Let's see if he can start to pick up, long distance, if he can pick up any signals. So he's going to get to add +3 to this roll. 5, no, he's not. Let's see if Talarian, she's probably helping to man the sensors. 11 and +3 is 14, so she's just fine. Let's do a 2 out of 3 to see how much she gets. 14, yeah. Last one didn't make it, but that's okay. She's got her 2 out of 3 there. I don't know if you can see, but this is my space dice. I don't know if you can tell too well, but there's supposed to be like little stars in it. I figured that was perfect for Star Trek, and I have the space background here. So, not to get distracted, sorry. So she tells the captain, she says, I'm detecting the Aurora up ahead. She said, but I'm not getting any signals from it. So let's put the Aurora out here. I know it would be further away in space, but we'll have to move it anyway. So it is a small, it's not a Constitution class ship, but that's what I have here. It's a little more of a science vessel. And she says, I could try maybe one more sensor on that. And he says, well, let me get the doctor up here also. So the doctor, he calls the doctor, and Craig is able to return back to duty. She's no longer paralyzed by all this. So the doctor and Talarian are going to work the sensors to see if they can get any life signs coming off the ship. Let's see how the doctor does. 10, and we'll add his bonus. And Talarian, she says, well, we're just not able to get clear signs. Well, he assisted her, so we'll give that a advantage. Let me just roll one more time. Sorry about that. I forgot the ruling there. 2, no. So she's had a couple of bad rolls here, and this is her first, basically her first day on the job or on this kind of job. So she says, I'm just not getting anything. She said, I apologize, Captain. And he said, no. He said, there's a lot of disturbances out here. I don't know that any one of us can be blamed for that. The captain takes a minute and he has to think about all this. What's he going to do? And he says, I think the only thing to do is to send a team over and try and investigate. He said, I think you should do environmental containment belts, so that you're able to breathe. But definitely we're going to send a group over there. He said, and I don't know what you're walking into. So he's saying, I think for the team, he said, we're going to have Neela Dane, and we're going to have Tharo. He said, maybe you'll be able to see what's wrong with the ship's engines or going on over there. He said, Doctor, definitely. He said, you might be needed. And he said, there seems to be, like with that time disturbance, there seems to be some disturbance here in space. So we're definitely going to send you over there as well, Talarian. And he does order, he says, you'll want to have phasers. You'll need to have pistols. He said, I don't know that I would go right to the main bridge in case there's been a problem. He said, we're going to see if we can get you sent over, just to one of the corridors and carefully make your way up to the bridge, see what's going on, maybe check engineering, and certainly keep in constant report here. So they are going to report to the transporter room. We can move some people out of the way for right now. Folks who we don't need. Move our little dominoes here for right now. And they are outfitted and they are ready to beam over. And for Talarian, this is the first kind of away mission that she's done. So, and I'm not going to have a roll for the transporter chief. So they beam over immediately, and they are on a corridor on the Aurora. And you'll have to imagine, those kind of hexagonal corridor shapes that they always had. And we'll just quick set up a corridor here for you. See how quick these are? I mean, yeah, a battle map is nice and, nice visuals for there. But I think this will work just as well. So they beam over and, lights are dim. And some of them are, in fact, are blinking. Like there seems to have been some problems here, maybe even some damage to the ship. Let's see what Tharo can figure out. Maybe he'll quick go over and try and access one of the panels. Oh, having a rough day, Tharo. He says, no, I'm not able to get anything. He said, I think we'll have to move, perhaps up for the engineering console at the bridge. I can get more information. And Neela says, well, I'm going to take point here. And she has her phaser out. She's our security officer, so she's used to perhaps dealing with this. And the others are behind her. Probably the doctor would be in the back because as a medical officer, he's going to be the least combat oriented. So as they make their way up through the corridor here, and it's very quiet, but then all of a sudden they hear this growling and they hear feet charging them. And coming at them are 3 people in crew uniforms, 3 crew members of the Aurora. However, they don't look right. Their upper skull is like too small and their jaws jutting out, almost like cavemen, but they are wearing their traditional clothing, and they are wielding just whatever kind of pipes or metal things that they could find. So what I'm going to say is, let's see, 1, 2, 3 is in the player's favor, 4, 5, 6 is in the quote-unquote caveman's favor. 1, so it is in their favor. They are going to get to act first. So Neela hollers, put it on stun. And these crew members are running, as though to tackle them. So let's see what happens. So they are going to set their phasers to stun here. So Neela, does she hit? 6 plus 3, that's a 9. No. Pharaoh, 2, he misses. Talarian, what did she get? A 20. Oh, look at that. So what that's going to mean is that one of the crew members is going to have to roll versus fitness here. Otherwise, they'll be stunned. 8, and I'm going to say they have a +1 probably for fitness. So no, one of them is stunned. And let's see what happens with Dr. Austin Heath here. Oh, 17. So the doctor and the scientist are the ones who made the roll. 8 plus 1 is 9. So 2 of them are stunned. But this one comes in and just basically tackles Neela. And this is a female crew member. And so they are just fighting away. And then let's see what happens here. So these folks went. So the... I'm going to say it's 1d3 for fists here because that's a problem. So he hits Neela for 1. And they are in close combat. So she is trying to take care of this other crew member without, she's saying, don't fire in. Or well, I should say the doctor's saying, don't fire in. You might hit him. Hit her as well. But let's see how this goes. This could be a problem. So 1, he misses. And why don't we roll both at once for these punch-in matches here. So Neela and then White is the other crew member. Oh, so they both hit. 5 on Neela and 5 on the crew member. So they are trading blows. This could take a while. I hope it doesn't take too long. But think about the old TV series where they'd be trading blows quite a bit. And let's see. Oh, they both hit again. 6 and 3. So she is taking quite a beating here. And Talarian is now going to step forward and try and do the nerve pinch on her, on the other crew member to take her out. So that is a psionics roll, and the target makes an immediate fitness roll. Maybe she should have done that sooner. 19, so that's pretty good. So the other crew member has to make that fitness roll there. And does make it, however, that's a problem. So I'm going to put the thing there. So if she takes another hit, that will probably stun her. So even though it didn't knock her out, knock this cave woman person out, it is going to make it easier to stun her next time. And let's see. Oh, she takes another jab. Just wild and savage here. Takes another jab at Neela. Neela's taking quite a beating here. Well, let's see this round. Yes. No, she doesn't hit again. Oh, but the cave person does. For 1 point. Thank goodness, because Neela is taking a lot of damage here. Yeah, but finally Neela clocks the cave person in the jaw, and that's going to be enough to take her out. And the doctor, of course, rushes up to Neela. You took quite a beating there. And she's gasping and, kind of down with her hands on her knees. The strength was unbelievable. And she said, why are they in this shape? Now, he's going to try healing on her. The doctor's going to try healing. So he's going to have to use one of his med kits here. There are 5 of them. I'm making some notes here. And let's see how he does. So his medicine is +4. 6 plus 4, that's a 10, just barely. So he's going to do 2d6 healing, so that's 7 points she gets back. Okay, now I want to do a roll here. 1, 2, 3, something happens. 4. Okay, so nothing happens. So these crew members are out, and Talarian says, should we restrain them? And Tharo says, oh, maybe we better just get up to the bridge as quickly as we can. So they're working their way through the starship. They leave the crew members here. And they do go past some areas, like where there are lounges and things like that. And surprisingly, there's nobody in there. It all seems very oddly quiet. And I'm going to say then here are our doors to the bridge. And we'll do it this way. The doors slide in and out. And then we'll make a little bridge over here. Kind of facing the same direction as the other one. I hope that's not too boring. Now the doors are shut, so Tharo is going to have to do an engineering to see if he can get through here. 12, yep, no problem. He's able to do that, and he says, are we ready? So people have their phasers out, and they will see what they see. So the doors open. And turning around on the captain's chair, where the captain was. Now, this was a female captain here, Captain Plato, and P-L-A-T-O, not Plato. And she waves to her comrades. And they look rather odd, too, because they're human, but their foreheads are really, really big. If you think about the creatures from, what was it, the menagerie? Almost as though, and again, maybe it's a little stereotypical, but the way they would predict humans would evolve in the future because they would have such brains. And they are going to lash out. So 1, 2, 3, the players act first. 4, 5, 6, the other crew members of the Aurora act first. And let's see where we're at. 1, 2, 3. Okay, good. So our people act first, and they are shooting to stun. And let's just go right across here and see what happens. So we'll do Neela. We'll do blue, white, and black here. So Neela hits. Doctor misses because he's at -1. And Talarian hits. So I'm assuming, and then we got to check for Tharo. No. So we've had 2 hits. So 2 of them have to attempt a fitness roll. 8 + 1. Nope, that's not going to be good enough. And what was the second one there? A 9 + 1. So that one is good enough. So one of them is stunned. But the others, they put their hands to their temple as though they're doing a mind attack. So everybody of the crew of the Freedom is going to have to make a psionics roll. So again, we're looking at a 10 or better. 5 is not good. Three rounds, it looks like. So Neela Dane, she got beat up and is now under this psionics influence here. And let's check for our good doctor. How did he do? 5, no. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, Talarian, and she gets a +2. 8 + 2, she's good. And what about Thera? I tried not to move it. 9, and what's his psionics is no bonus. So it is up to Talarian here. She sees that all of her companions seem to be stunned here. They're just standing there. Now, she's Vulcan, so she tries not to get too excited, but she raises her phaser, and again, she's trying for that stun roll, and she's going to go for the person who's the captain there. And I'm just going to roll hit the captain's fitness there at the same time, or her fitness, I should say. Oh, Talarian misses anyway, so that doesn't help. So now we're going to have the psionic attack on Talarian. But let me take a square away from everybody so that their time isn't forever there. So let's do the psionic attack. And then the psionic resist. Well, it's a psionic resistance here. Let's do the attack first. 10, yeah, so that's going to hit. Let's see a resistance. 13, yes, she still resists. So she comes in again, tries that stun. She's not able to do the neck pinch deal because she's not close enough. 3 and nope, not good enough. So he is going to try or she is going to try, excuse me. The captain's going to try the psionic attack, misses. So we'll have another stun attack here. Nope, no stun. Well, actually, she was hit before, I think, and had the thing. So that would stun her. I think definitely on that. Now, the other one is a little bit in disarray here. I think I forgot to put the stun thing on there. So it's going to try a psionic attack at disadvantage. 7. Nope, doesn't make it. So Talarian, again, has to do the phaser pistol thing, but she's trying to stun. Oh, her time on the range was good. He's not stunned, but we do have to put a marker there. So it's going to try its psionics attack again at disadvantage. It wouldn't have mattered anyway. So if Talarian hits, she's going to take him down. 12, yeah. So she successfully stuns 2 of the crew members. And let's assume some time passes, especially with them down. I think the psionic deal would wear off pretty quickly. And Dr. Heath, oh, what happened? What? Oh, you took care of them. Oh, that's that's quite good work. And I think you might have been a little worried earlier. She said, well, it wasn't very scientific on my part. She said, but we've got to get in here and check the ship's logs and see what's going on. So they do that, and I'm not going to require any kind of roll here. Because they're accomplished Starfleet people, they're going to be able to take care of things without any major, more routine tasks. And Tharo calls up the logs, and Talarian is scanning the sciences. The only role I will say is I'll give her a roll just to see, just how much information. And Tharo calls up the logs, and on the logs, the weird thing is that the timestamps are wrong. Some of them seem to be from the past, some of them from the future. Let's see how Talarian does. 15, so no problems whatsoever on her part. And she says, there's some kind of time distortion with this nebula. That's what I think may have caused these crew members to, some of them devolve, some of them evolved into, odd psionic powers. I think what we have to do is get the ship as far away from possible. I don't know if we can do it from here or not. So Tharo's going to make his roll to see if he can tell anything, if he can get the engines cold started or not. 16. And he says, yes, I can. And Dr. Heath says, yeah, but I'm worried about the effect on us if we're staying here too long. Talarian says, yes, that could be a problem. Let me see if I can get a feel for how long all this took. 3. No. So they could be in some danger moving this ship. So Pharaoh's going to suggest, he said, but if I take the command codes, the remote command codes, maybe we can do it from the Freedom, and then we'd be much safer. We could essentially we would get the engines firing, and then maybe with the tractor beams on the Freedom, we could tow her. So that seems to be the plan, that they're going to try and tow these people out of there. And I'm just going to, hand wave and move things along. So they get back to the bridge, and they are able to make their rolls. And like I said, because they're competent Starfleet officers, and they are able to tow the Aurora, again using the Aurora's own engines to tow it away there. And they take it, back out to the safer part of the nebula. And when they do this, the crew begins to revert and become normal, and they go back to being, normal modern humans and other peoples on the ship. And things seem okay then at that point. And Captain Weston, of course, makes his call over to the other ship to talk to the ship's captain. And, she tells him about how, we didn't expect this, and we got caught in this effect, but we seem to be back to normal now. And he says that there's something else going on in this nebula. He said, however, your crew has suffered, I'm sure quite a bit of psychic shock and emotional shock. He said, you probably will need to take care of your ship as well. He said, what I'm going to suggest is that you wait outside the nebula. He said, but I think I'm going to have to take the Freedom further in and see what happened. He said, but I'm going to have to talk to my crew about how we can prevent any of these time distortions or use the time distortions to find out the cause of this, whether it's natural or perhaps something else. And we'll see what that something else, or if it's natural, we'll see all that next time. I thank you so much for watching, especially if you're here till the end. All the YouTube stuff, like and subscribe and all that if you'd like. But we'll see you again next time, and we'll wrap up, or we'll continue our Star Trek adventure. Thanks so much. Have a great day wherever you are.